Good morning. Hello, everyone. You guys get me in workout clothes today. I am rushing between all sorts of things today, and so you get me in my normal work attire, which is yoga pants and a tank top. Some days I actually work out, so hopefully I'll be able to fit that in later today. Normally I get all dressed up for you guys before I come on and do my Facebook Lives, but I'm trying really hard to do these more often and to engage with you guys more often. And if you have thought about doing video, then you probably know there are like 1,000 excuses you can come up with every day not to do one. And one of mine is like if my hair isn't done, or I don't have makeup on, or I'm in my yoga pants and tank top. And so I am just throwing all that crap out the window. Facebook Lives do not have to be professional videos. You can just be you. That's what I think is so great about it. So today you get me in workout attire because that's where my day is at right now. So as you guys join, if you want to say hi, I would love to know who is here. I'll wait just a minute for more people to get on. I think I got on like a minute early today, so I'll just wait a minute for folks to get on. I'm super excited about today's topic. It's actually something that came up in my group last night, and I thought, you know what, that's the perfect subject for a live tomorrow. If you've tried to do Facebook Lives on like any sort of regular basis in your group or on your page or anything, then you've probably run into trying to come up with enough topics and trying to decide what to talk about every day. And I'm somebody who loves to talk, so I like never run out of things to talk about. But a lot of times my ideas just come from things that happen with my clients during the day or things that happen in the Facebook group, which is what this came out of. Michelle says she's here. Hi, good morning, Michelle and Amber. Hello. I'm so glad you ladies are here with me this morning. If you missed the beginning, I told everybody this is like the first live I've ever done in workout clothes. And I just decided, you know what, it's more important to do the video than it is to worry about what I'm wearing. And I'm so busy today, I don't have time to run around changing clothes just to do a live. So I'm here. This is me. This is what I'm like every day in my little home office. So, okay, it looks like we've got a few more people on now. If you're here, feel free to say hello and definitely feel free to ask questions. But what I wanted to talk about today is whether or not it's worth it to write for Huffington Post. Jason says hi. He says, I find that writing for Huffington Post is hit or miss as far as getting traffic to your website. Perfect. That is exactly what we're going to talk about today, because I don't think that should ever be your goal. I don't think writing for Huffington Post or really anywhere. I write for Forbes. I get tens of thousands of hits on my stories. It doesn't drive traffic to my website, but it does other amazing things for me and has allowed me to make money and grow my business in a lot of different ways. So I want to talk about that. I will give the disclaimer, I have never written for Huffington Post. And honestly, the major reason for that is that I have written for Forbes since 2009. They were one of the first major publishers who allowed contributors, and I was a free contributor at Forbes, not at Huffington Post, at Forbes for 2 years. They actually pay their writers now, but for the first 2 years, it was totally free. But it is a major reason that I ultimately got my huge kind of blockbuster for me kind of deal from ESPN. I was a corporate attorney who was blogging for Forbes for free on the side. It wasn't driving traffic to my website. I didn't even have my own business, so it wasn't growing my business. But what it did do was give me credibility and build my personal brand and make me someone who was marketable to an outlet like ESPN, who came in and offered me even more money than I was making as a corporate attorney and completely transformed the course of my career. And I don't think writing for Huffington Post is all that much different. The problem I see when people come to me and want to talk about Huffington Post is they say, hey, look, Huffington Post takes everybody these days. I'm sorry, guys, I'm distracted. My cat literally just walked into the office carrying a toy and dropped it at my feet. I have 3 cats. This one thinks she's a dog, so she's always bringing me things to throw. She'll be likely to jump up here any minute. But when people come to talk to me about Huffington Post, they're worried that Huffington Post now allows so many people to be contributors that maybe it's not seen as being exclusive or as special or important, or however you want to put it, as it used to be. And they also talk to me about how when they do write, they just don't see the traffic on their website. And as I briefly mentioned a few minutes ago, I don't think that should ever be your goal writing for Huffington Post. Your goal should not be to drive traffic directly from your Huffington Post story to your website. It just isn't going to happen. I'm telling you, I have Forbes posts with tens of thousands of hits. I've had ones go over 100,000. They don't drive traffic to my website. That's not really how I see it as an advantage. Here's what I think Huffington Post does for you, okay? It credentials you. Even though they let a lot of people write there now, it credentials you more than writing on your own blog, okay? It's something you can use as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. So when a client comes to me and they say, I really want to write for Dr. Oz's magazine, or I really want to write for Women's Day, or I really want to write for Men's Health, or somewhere like that, I say, okay, where have you been writing so far? Sometimes they say nowhere. A lot of times they've only been writing on their own blog. It is incredibly difficult to pitch a client to write for a major national magazine if they've only been writing on their own blog. Can it be done? Yes. Is it easy? No. And it's not easy at all to pitch for a national magazine, but it's a lot easier if I can show them that you've written in multiple different places, okay? And Huffington Post can be one of those places. You can use Huffington Post as a clip, because what happens is when you want to pitch yourself for a major national publication, you have to send clips. You usually send at least 3, and it's great if they're each from a different place. It's even better if none of them are from your personal website, okay? Unless your personal website has really grown and is really being noticed and linked to and has become a destination in your industry, I really want clients to have clips from other places before we pitch for major national magazines. And so Huffington Post is usually one of the places I suggest to them if they're not already approved for Huffington Post, because it is somewhere that's reasonable to get into, and it's a name that people recognize, and it does hold more weight with editors at these bigger publications than writing for your own site does. I see your comment, Jason. I'll come back to it in just a second. So Huffington Post is one of the places I recommend. I seem to have a lot of clients who come in and have either written for Elephant Journal or have pitched them or want to write for Elephant Journal. I think that's great too. I think it's important to contribute to some of these places where maybe you're contributing for free. Look, I contributed for Forbes for 2 years for free before I got anything paid out of it, but it literally changed my life. It is what allowed me to go from being a corporate attorney to being a national sports broadcaster. So there are benefits to it, and you use those clips from Huffington Post and from those other places to pitch to the bigger outlets. And it's not just for magazine pieces, it's also for TV. When I pitch a client for TV, talent bookers and producers really like to see that you've been doing things in other places. And it doesn't have to be that you've been doing TV. It can be you've been doing a podcast, or you've been a guest on several radio shows. You've got a YouTube channel that you've been really active on. You've been writing in a lot of different places. I need to credential you when I pitch you to a TV show or to a major radio show or to a major national magazine. I've got to show them that you are an expert at what you do, and I do that by showing them all the other places you've been visible already. So I told someone earlier today, I sort of see it as when you think about people talking about like A-list celebrities, and you've got like B-list celebrities, and then you've even got like C-list celebrities down at the end, okay? Your website is C-list, okay? People probably don't know it. Even if people know it within your little niche, it's probably not widely known, okay? A B-list celebrity or a B-list blog would be somewhere like Huffington Post. You know, people recognize the name, but you know, it doesn't get you the cover of a magazine the way you get it if you're an A-list celebrity, which might be somewhere like Inc. Or Entrepreneur or, you know, Men's Health. It depends on what your topic is as to what you would see as sort of the top of the pyramid there. But writing for places like Huffington Post gives you the clips to get you to the other places. And in my mind, that's how you should be using those opportunities. Huffington Post and places like that, you should be using as leverage. There are ways I think that you can use it on social media and on your website to promote yourself and to begin credentialing yourself. Does it position you as the foremost authority in your area? Probably not. And maybe you aren't the foremost authority in your area, but it starts credentialing you as an expert. It makes you more of an expert than someone who's only writing on their own blog. And so to me, when a client says they're frustrated with Huffington Post because it's not driving traffic to their website, that should never be the reason you're writing for Huffington Post to begin with. It has never been the reason I have written for Forbes. Forbes has opened so many doors for me. I was able to use Forbes as leverage to get a book deal. You know, it was the reason an editor noticed me in the first place. Eventually ESPN came calling. Sorry guys, I usually unplug my phone before I get on my live, but obviously I didn't do it today. So I think those opportunities to write for places, even if you're writing for free, are great because they're leveraged to get you to the next level and to start credentialing you and positioning you as an expert. I'm gonna take a look because I know a bunch of comments have come in. Jason said, the best thing that happened to me was a few months ago, I posted on Huffington and Yahoo picked it up and posted on the Yahoo homepage, and that got me 100 opt-ins to my list. Wish I could do that every time. And I gotta click see more here. Okay, that's what he said. Absolutely. There are going to be times that something you have blows up. A lot of these sites have syndication agreements with other sites. For example, I wrote for Lavo League one time, which probably none of you have ever heard of. It's kind of like LinkedIn for female millennials. It's a really neat site, and I met the founder at a speech I was giving one time, and she invited me to write for the site, and one of those pieces got picked up by Fast Company. Guess what I did? I emailed an editor at Fast Company and I said, hey, you guys syndicated a piece I wrote for Lavo League. I would love to write for Fast Company. You know, is that a possibility? And he said, absolutely. I recognize your name. Your piece did great for us. Let us know anytime you want to write. Now, to be honest, I got busy with client work and I never wrote for them, but I actually have my first piece for Fast Company coming out later this week. And that was following up with that same editor apologizing for taking so long. And then pitching him a piece about public speaking that will be out later this week that I'm super excited about. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity in writing for free sites and writing for sites that maybe you don't think are as big or as credible as other sites to get you to the higher level places. As a publicist, when I'm pitching people, I need that kind of stuff to be able to pitch you for the bigger opportunities. You can't just go from nothing to the big stuff. I mean, that very, very rarely happens. Evie said, no opportunity is too small. Anything that showcases your knowledge is great exposure. Yes. Thank you, Evie. I haven't heard from you lately, but it is so good to see you on here. I agree with her. No opportunity is too small. The other mistake I see people making on Huffington Post that I will just throw in here, because I think that when you do write for Huffington Post and you're viewing it the way I've told you to, as a strategy to get somewhere bigger and to grow your business by leveraging it for bigger opportunities, is that your writing for Huffington needs to be really targeted, okay? A lot of people come to me and their posts are all over the place, like a million different topics that don't fit like tightly into one little niche. You need to decide what you're going to be an expert on, and your posts need to be about that. All of them, okay? Don't write a healthy eating recipe and then write about how best to punish your children and then write about 10 ways to become a better runner. I mean, maybe that all relates to like healthy, happy living, but to me, that's way too big of a topic, way too big of a niche. You're not ever going to make an impact there. Here's what happened to me. I was on Forbes in the beginning, writing for free as a contributor way back when, and I wrote about the business of sports, and I wrote about every sport all across the board. And nothing was really happening for me. I mean, it was a cool opportunity to be at Forbes, and I at the time had started doing a TV segment too. But it was when I switched to writing about only the business side of college sports. I did that April of 2011. I decided that was going to be my specialty. I was going to write about the business of college sports, okay? April 2011, okay? By July, ESPN was asking to talk to me. In August, I got my book deal. In October, I started at ESPN, okay? All that happened in the course of like 6 months just because I niched down. It is incredibly important to decide the kind of one core thing you want to be an expert at and to write around that. It's not just going out and writing for Huffington Post. It's choosing that niche and being true to it. At Forbes, they tell us stay in your lane, okay? We all kind of have a lane that's our specialty, and we are supposed to stay in that lane. Now, I've been doing that long enough that I've been able to branch out and do some other stuff. I don't do just the business of college sports anymore, although that's still my primary interest, and it's why I'm the expert they chose to write This Week in College Sports Business, which is a weekly feature for Forbes. But every once in a while I get to branch out. For example, I've got a piece on UFC later this week because I've become a UFC fan over the last couple of years. And so I'm writing about the big UFC 200 this weekend. I get to sprinkle in a piece like that every now and then. One, because I'm not pursuing sports as a career anymore. And so I get to have a little more fun with it and I don't have to be so tightly niched. And I'm already considered an expert on the business of college sports. You know, my name and my website come up right at the top of searches. I have a book on the business of college football. I speak all over the country on the business of college sports. I've established myself as an expert in that area. And so I have the leeway to veer a little bit time to time. But the best strategy you can possibly have is to find that niche that works for you and stay in it. And that way you're writing strategically and you can use those pieces to move yourself up from Huffington Post to whether it's a place that pays or it's just a bigger national outlet that you want to be in, see it as that, as strategic leverage, not as something that's ultimately going to drive a ton of hits to your website or bring you in a ton of business directly from one post. Michelle said, my focus is expanding my speaking career. Is writing for credibility still a good stepping stone for those opportunities? I'm brand new to all this, so I don't even officially pitch. Sorry, I've got to hit see more. Lots to learn, so appreciate your valuable info. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, okay, so I actually started speaking not too long after I was blogging, so I was doing them kind of in tandem in the beginning, and absolutely, I think that blogging allows you to pick up speaking engagements. I get probably 80 to 90% of my speaking engagements from people who find me on social media, and generally speaking, they find me on social media because I'm on social media talking about my blogs. So most of my speaking engagements, at least the ones that are around sports, come from either a tweet or from LinkedIn. And if I really trace it back, that person found me in the first place, and I was active on social media because I was promoting my blog posts. So I really use those blogs to position me as an expert on the topic. Then I use social media to push the blog out there and to promote my work, and all of those kind of work in tandem to build up my expertise and to position me as an expert. And then absolutely that makes it easier if you're proactively pitching yourself for speaking engagements, but also just being out there and having blogs out there, especially if you define your niche and you stick to it, and then being active on social media and sharing those blogs will allow people to find you. So I don't even pitch myself for speaking engagements anymore. They come to me, and it's all through blogging and social media. So absolutely, I still think blogging is a really good strategy if speaking is your ultimate goal. And that can be at Huffington Post or anywhere else. I wouldn't get so focused on where you're writing. I mean, I've written for some major national publications, but I wrote for free in a lot of places before I got to those major national publications. And, my own website where I was blogging about sports sometimes did better than the Forbes website did. You've got to use a lot of these things in tandem. It's all about creating yourself into an expert. That's really what I do with people. I say that I help people define their niche, position them as experts, and then find ways for them to be visible for that expertise. So that is my niche. That is what I'm good at, is creating experts and then making them more visible. But I'm very strategic about it, okay? When I put a client on a TV show or on a podcast to be interviewed, or I'm getting them quoted in the media, we have a strategy session and we're talking about what we want out of this, how we're going to position it on their website, how we're going to post about it on social media, all the ways we're going to leverage that one appearance for additional opportunities. It shouldn't just be a one-off thing that you're doing, and you should never expect that, one thing like that is going to drive traffic to your website or bring you business. Michelle says, thank you. You are very welcome. If anybody else has questions, feel free to post them. I think I'm kind of off of my soapbox now and done with this. So if you have questions, feel free to post them. If you watch this on the replay later and you have a question, still feel free to post it. I will come back and answer questions all day long. I'm happy to answer any question you have about it. If you've already been writing for Huffington Post and you want me to take a look at what you've been doing and let you know if I think you're headed in the right direction as far as defining your niche, I'm happy to do that. Honestly, ask me anything. The worst I can say is no, and honestly, I don't say no all that often. I'm here to help you. I want to help you. So if I don't see any other questions, I'm going to sign off because I have got a phone call to get on here in a few minutes. But feel free to go ahead and leave questions, and I will come back and answer them in the comments throughout the day. Thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday, although it still feels like Tuesday. I almost said Tuesday. The holiday has me totally screwed up, but I hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and I will try to think of something fun and exciting to come back and talk to you about tomorrow, okay? Thanks, guys.